Greetings, friends and future friends. Today's video is on the Korg Pa5x. Now, I've got a few comments and people are asking me, hey, John, how do you use the Korg Pa5x with your DAW system? And that's what I want to show you today, how I do that. Now, the cool thing about the Korg Pa5x is that it has multiple outs. So what I do is I pan all my accompaniments out to left and right. I pan all my drums to 1 and 2. And my bass guitar I pan out to 3 and 4. And any other instrument I want to separate from the accompaniment, I can go to 3 and 4. Then I can record 6 tracks in my DAW system at the same time I'm playing back that style. Now, if you're using the chord sequencer, you can lay out a chord sequence and play that. And at the same time you're playing that style back and recording those 6 tracks, you can add fills or breaks or anything else, change the variations, anything while you're playing back that style, and it's going to show up in your recording. Really cool stuff. So, let's get in the studio and see how those things work. So we have the Korg Pa5x started up, and I brought up one of my styles. And if you look again, I say this again, BL in front of each one of my style titles will put it into category. If I go to 1, BDs are ballads, AGs are acoustic guitars, and BL, so Soul Blues 01, that's version 1. We got that loaded, and it's all ready to go. We also, if we go to chords, we have a chord progression that we wrote for this style. And it's B minor and all the way E minor and yada, yada, yada. And all the way down 9th measure, it goes to E flat. So we wrote this chord progression. And this is the style that we're going to be working with today. Now, one of the things we want to do before we start working with this style is we're going to hit the record button. And we're going to go to Style Edit. And then what I want to look at is go to Fills. Okay, we're going to go Fill 1. And I'm using my pointer today because I want you to look here and see where I'm pointing instead of my finger in the way. First thing we want to do is look at Fill 1, and we're going to see its CV length is 1. So we're going to go to Fill 2. Let's go to Fill 3. Yeah, they're all the same. All these fills have a CV length of 1, which means that's 1 measure, which means that's 4 beats. So if we played it, it would go 1, 2, 3, 4. So fill, and let's just check for fill 4 too. Yeah. And let's go look at the break. The break is also 1 CV length. Now that's going to be important to the next thing I want to show you. We know that the break, if we go here again, we know that fill 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the break is all 1 measure or 4 beats. So that's going to be very important for the next thing I want to show you. So now let's go back. Let's exit out of this. We don't want to save any changes. We didn't make any changes. So now what we want to do is go back and go back to the main, and we have everything all brought up. So what we're going to do today is record this style in our DAW system. And how we're going to do that is play back the style and record it in our DAW system. So the first thing we want to do is go to Settings, go to Audio Video, then we're going to come down here to Player 1, and make sure that everything is going where it's supposed to go. And you can see 1 through 8 is going left and right. That's all my accompaniments. Then the bass, 3 and 4, is going out to 3 and 4. And the drums are going out 1 and 2, and the percussion is going out 1 and 2. Which means all the accompaniments will be going into the DAW system. The drums will be going through some processing, then into the DAW system. And same with the bass. The bass is going to be going right into the DAW system. So we're going to make sure that that's set up first before we even start working on sending this style out to my DAW system. And this is the way I'm doing it. You know, you could probably record this as an MP3 maybe, but I like to do it this way because then that way I have more control over what I'm going to do in the project because I can record this. And our mission today is to create a soundtrack for our guitar solo. Before we start playing around with this style and recording, let's look at our chords. And I want to show you a couple things. Now we could record this, play back this chord sequence and record it into the DAW system, but it would just be a sequence playing variation 1. What we want to do is make it a little bit more interesting. and that way we could add fills. Now if I play this variation on variation 1 or this chord sequence on variation 1, it sounds like this. Which sounds pretty cool. But what we're going to do is we're going to add some fills. Now we already went in and saw that the fills are 1 measure, 4 beats. So what I want to show you is how and where you hit the fill button, because it'll depend on where you hit that button, when you hit that button, how the fill will sound. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down, I'm going to start the progression, and when it hits the 2, which will be the second measure, that's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 on the second measure. I'm going to push down on fill 2 button, and you're going to see what that fill sounds like. Now that's what that fill 2 sounds like when we push it down right on the number 1 hit of that second measure, the number 1 beat. Now let's go to 3 and 4. Now, you hear how that fill sounds different? It's because now what you're doing is you're playing the fill on beats 3 and 4. When we hit the fill button on beat 1 of measure 2, we were playing the complete fill. But when we hit it on beat 3 of measure 2, the fill sound different. Again, I'll play the beat, I'll play the fill on beat number 1 of measure 2. Now I'll play it hitting the fill button when I hit beat 3 of measure 2. So one of the things I want you to take away from this tutorial right here is that pressing that fill button at different times on the screen of your chord progression, your sequence, will change how that fill will sound. And that can be used to our advantage because different timings will make the fill sound differently. Now, another thing you need to look at when we're playing with the fill button here is if we push it down. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to come over 1, 2, 3, 4, and when we hit that first beat of that second measure on that E minor, I'm going to push down on the fill button, not fill 2, but I'm going to hit it again, like a double click. And what that's going to do is lock in the fill. Then if you look down here, you're going to see right here, you're going to see this fill button will stay on. So in that little section there, when you hit the fill button and you click it again real quick after you've hit it the first time, it'll stay on. And you can see that the yellow light was on. And I'll do that again. Here we go. Notice the light's still on. So what I'm going to do this time is show you how to turn that fill off. So I'm going to start the B minor. When we go to the E minor, I'm going to turn it on and repeat the E minor, the B minor. Then on the E minor in the fourth measure, I'm going to tap that fill 2 button again, which will then play that fill to the B minor. And then when we hit the B minor, we should be back to not playing the fill, and it should go back to the regular variation. All right, here we go. So, did you see what I just did there? What I just did is this. the B minor started to play, I pushed down the fill button on the first beat of measure 2 on that E minor, and I pushed it down again real quick after I pushed that first time. Then we had the fill play all the way through, and then right here at the 4th measure, first beat, that E minor, I pushed the button down again, which then said, okay, it's just going to play one time, and when we hit the B minor on the 5th measure, it was back to variation 1. So that is something you need to understand on how to use these fill buttons to make your style more interesting. Now, this also works for the break button right here also. And I want to show you. I'm going to turn the break on at this first beat of the 2nd measure. Now, this time, what I'm going to do to make this sequence a little bit more interesting is on the B, of course, we're going to let the variation 1 play. Then I'm going to hit the break on the first beat of this E minor, let it play through the break. Then it's going to come back to variation 1 on B minor, then go all the way to E minor. And when it hits this E minor, on measure 4 first beat, I'm going to hit the break button again. And you're going to watch how we created 2 breaks right in this little sequence. Start the sequence. So by doing this, you've made that sequence, which was just B minor and E minor, more interesting by adding a break or adding a fill. And doing that is something we're going to do when we go to record this into the DAW system. Now, another thing we want to look at is the intros. So I'm going to come over here and push on intro 2. And you can see my chord sequence went away. And if we play that, you're going to see that the chord sequence didn't come into play. It didn't engage. So what we have to do is we're going to hit intro 2. We have the intro 2 button lit up. Then we're going to come up here and hit our chord sequence, start sequence. Now we're going to start the sequence. In doing that, what we did is we actually played the intro and then it came into our sequence. Okay, let's run through this chord sequence before we record it. And I've played around, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put fill number 2 on all the splits of the first part, the B minor, the E minor. And then I'm going to use fill 1 on the E flat, the A flat minor. And then on the second time around, maybe we'll add the break to that second verse, that second line on the E minors. I really like the way that sounds. So we got the sequence all fired up. And let's push the play button and get working here. great. I think we got it pretty well figured out, but I think the third time we play this sequence, we'll bring in variation 4 and make that sound a little more interesting. Okay, let's start recording. Now, what I'm going to do is record this sequence and add fills and breaks, probably a little bit more than I will when I actually create the soundtrack for the guitar solo, but I want to show you how I'm doing it. And if I run through this progression more than 3 or 4 times, it's going to get boring and you guys are going to be going to another video. So the first thing we're going to do is come over to the Korg and play back the sequence and then look and see if it's showing up on our DAW system. So as I'm looking over at the DAW system, yes, it looks great. So track 1 is the drums, track 2 is the bass, and track 3 is the rhythm accompaniment. And I can see when we hit that guitar, let's start this again. I see the drums hitting real good on channel 1 and the bass on channel 2. And every now and then we can see the guitar. Looks good. Now, what we want to do is make sure we go up here, and this is going to be a very important thing right here, to make sure that the tempo is at 90. And if we go back to our Korg and we go back down to here, we can see our tempo is at 90. So let's bring this back up. So it looks like we're ready to record. So what I'm going to do is I have a key, hotkey on my deck of my DAW here, my DAW system, and I'm going to hit the play button on the Korg at the same time, and let's see what we have. All right, let's play that back and see what we have. Now we're going to play back the recording we just made. Sounds great. All right, I think we're ready to record. We'll come over here and we'll delete this, undo, and let's get started. I want to get everything straight. What fills? I'm gonna get my button on the fill 2 button. Get my finger on that fill 2 button. Get ready to start. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna come over here and hit intro. Make sure we hit the intro. I'm gonna hit intro 2. And then again, we're going to push up here to make sure that light's flashing. Okay, our chord sequence is going. And what we're going to do is push both start buttons on the DAW and the keyboard at the same time. All right, let's see what we have. So we'll go back here to our DAW system, and looks like we recorded a sequence. So now let's click off all the record. Go back and back to the beginning, and let's see what we have. Did you hear the fills we put in there? All those fills were right on time. Just as we pushed the button and we played it, they're all in there. And I think right in here somewhere is where we had the break going. And what was really cool is I pushed the break button on the very end. And so now we have the break going on, and the break actually created an ending for us. Is that not cool or what? So this is how I've been doing it for a long time, and how I bring my styles into my DAW system. And like I showed you in the previous part of this video, you can add fills, breaks, change variations. And if you get good at the timing of the sequence, again, you know, if you have that fill is a 4-beat fill, you start it on beat number 1 of 2 and work it in. And you can work these fills and all that in. Then once you're playing that back and you're recording it in, because again, the Korg Pa5x has all these outs. So when you go into your DAW system, like I have set up here, channel 1 right there, that's the drums. Channel 2, that's the bass. And channel 3 is my accompaniments. And now I can do anything I want with these things. This is one of my favorite little plugins right here, and this is actually a channel. And it has all my settings, has a little bit of a compressor in it, limiter. And it has it has a little bit of a tube influence, a gate, a compressor, an EQ, and then I can go in there and do anything I want with those drums. And actually on this, I think I'm bringing in on playback, I'm actually bringing in some drum reverb. I got a little bit of reverb going on. And that's really cool. And what I have here on I got that, all I have on channel 3, which is a stereo channel, is the accompaniments is this plug-in right here. But now you're in the DAW system, and now I can do anything I want. I can copy paste this stuff. I can do whatever I want. Now what I'll probably end up doing is doing the same process I'm doing right here, but I'll probably record it with a little bit more precision, not all the cameras hanging everywhere and lighting everywhere. Now when I go to actually record this for the guitar solo, I'm going to be a little bit more precise in how I place those fills and breaks. But this is basically the same thing that I'm going to be doing here probably the end of this week, laying down the tracks. And then any of these tracks can be sent out, and I can actually go in here and record my vocals or anything else I want to add to it. So there might be an easier way, but for me, I've always done it this way. I like bringing instruments into my DAW individually, and then I can add different stuff to them, and it really works fine. I really like the way this works. So I hope this video showed you how I use the Korg Pa5x with my DAW system. With the multiple outs, it makes it quick and easy to separate and record all the elements of that style into your DAW system. Also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. You help us grow the channel. That way we can bring you more cool stuff. So take care, my friends, and thanks for watching.